From dancing their way to the ring in circus shorts to getting absolutely annihilated, here are 50 times cocky fighters got instant karma your body can't handle. Now, for Wilder versus Szpilka. The Polish international Szpilka was seen swaggering in pre-fight talks.
Hey baby, you going down!
Even tried headbutting Wilder. But this knockout from the champ, Wilder immediately dropped him off the map. Some say his wife was ready to cash in on his life insurance after watching him laying Lara like that. Moving on to King Arthur versus Taylor. Taylor played dirty in many instances during the fight. He kept landing low blows, round in and round out. But with just a few seconds left in the last round, Arthur landed a straight blow that landed Taylor straight into the hospital, and he also suffered a short-term memory loss. That's why you shouldn't mess with somebody's private parts without consent. Ready for some Ryan Garcia now? Rodriguez portrayed an idiot with a huge ego since the start of the fight, and even during weigh-offs. He kept signaling that he wasn't hurt, but his head was getting whacked. Garcia literally ripped that ego into pieces, showing off as a fool's idea of glory, and this man is called karma. Up next, we have Rashid Kassim versus Joe Murray. Another idiot, but not just with a huge ego, but also huge money behind him. Rashid Kassim displayed a lot of cockiness before the fight, but Murray successfully knocked it all out of him. Well, I mean, they're both kind of sloppy fighters. I don't know who let them fight on a professional level, but karma does its job irrespective of professionalism. Now, I got the one-punch man, Tony Bellew, for you. Well, I guess he was right. That's exactly what happened. Sadly, he was on the receiving end. His opponent, Usyk, delivered a mighty blow and it switched off Bellew's lights from within. It was game over. And now for this punk who spilled water on his opponent like it was some kid's birthday party fight. Honestly, I do feel bad for the guy who set up the stage. And, well, water was all Ozkin could get on Zambitis before he left his jaw destroyed. That was Zambitis' way of replying to Ozkin's question, "You think you're tough?"
You think you're tough?
On to Pagara versus Pathamathong now. A very animated chap indeed. But, as they say, there's a right time and place for everything. Perhaps a ring isn't the right place to be cocky. I'm sure you'd agree by now. One punch to the stomach knocked out the juggler inside him. Sometimes taunting an opponent is only good for one thing: getting knocked out. Here we have another rooster for you, known as Jayco, who was acting out at the weigh-offs. That slap became the reason for his beating, and I mean brutal beating. Tony Yoka finished him off like he was some amateur sparring partner. Just as Barrera finishes McKinney off here. Boxing had some of its best moments in the 90s. This is one of them, where McKinney refers to his opponent Barrera as a boy. I mean, that's enough of an insult for a grown-ass professional boxer. And Barrera wasn't having any of it. So McKinney got his ass kicked ruthlessly. Ouch. Up next, Canelo versus Kirkland. Kirkland decided to be cheeky with Alvarez right from the start of the fight. But looks like Kirkland had met a real boxer for the first time. A true sportsman, no dancing and prancing around the fallen opponent is finally good to see. Moving on to Dirrell versus Plant. I gotta tell you, Anthony Dirrell is nicknamed the Dog for a reason. He said he'd never let a white guy beat him. But you see, the white guy had other plans. Plant sent Dirrell to a whole other dimension with this knockout. The ref had to ask Plant not to dig as they need the ring for future fights. Now, for that one time during Mikhailovich versus Hanan. Hanan landed a cheap shot before the bell, but that was perhaps the only clean punch he was able to land in the whole fight. Perfect retribution. Andre made Hanan look like he couldn't punch his way out of a wet paper bag. The man got served. Instant karma at its best. And that brings us to the fight between Martin and Joshua. Seems like God didn't like his trash talk. He walked in the ring like a knob. Yeah, I love the way AJ walks away after the knockdown like, I guess it's over already. Seriously, Charles Martin has to be the only world champion who was a legit bum. But if you really want to see how instant karma works, here you go. Stevenson versus Williamson. 1 second, Williamson is dancing and mocking. The other, he's on the canvas. Cold. Now here's another guy with a cocky looking behavior. You probably know what happens next. After all the crap O'Sullivan talked, he got wrecked by one punch. Lemieux really looked like he was trying to knock his mustache off right there and then. Now, I have Starboy Usman for you. After an awful yet swaggering entrance, Uzi got what he deserved. A first-round knockout that has become the highlight of this boy's career. While this may have sucked for him, at least it made him go viral on social media. And now here's another fighter with a bad boy reputation who got some well-deserved attitude adjustment. His name, Badr Hari. Ring a bell? He went out cold. Damn, the ref had to check his pulse to make sure he was still alive. That is why you should not be disrespectful to your elders. But sometimes fighters overestimate their abilities. Take this fight between Tyson versus Donnie Long, for instance. Donnie Long, also known as the Master of Disaster, faced Mike Tyson when Mike was only 19. But sadly, the fight lasted only for 90 seconds. Donnie's game plan clearly went horribly wrong. Next, I'm going to show you why you shouldn't mess with Russians without state machinery. Alexander's got the capability to conclude the fight whenever he chooses. Poor Charlie made the mistake of teasing Alexander, nearly provoking him to unleash one of his finishing moves. Well, he got his wish granted a few rounds later. A left-right-left combination by the Russian powerhouse put Charlie to sleep. Now Hopkins is another guy who used to say I would never lose to a white boy. But again, the white boy, Smith in this case, had his own plan. He unleashed a flurry of hard blows on Hopkins, and Hopkins went to the floor through the ropes. Up next, Adrian the Problem Broner is one of the most arrogant and cocky fighters you'll ever see. Broner's vulgar gesture only served to ignite Maidana further, and Maidana went on to absolutely thrash him. He sent Broner to the ground many times before he was declared winner of the fight through unanimous decision. And of course, Maidana had the last laugh. Now, we have the German Conor McGregor for you. Maurice Adorf did a good job at mimicking Conor McGregor during the weigh-outs and in his fight entrance. However, his performance inside the ring was a huge disappointment. Despite his arrogance, Adolf fell short of living up to it and got knocked out by a head kick in just over a minute. Here, Anthony Mundane, a former world champion, faces the rising star Jeff Horn. Anthony was flexing his experience on the newbie, but Horn wasted no time in knocking out the former world champion. He sent Anthony into retirement in just 96 seconds. Moving on to the Silva versus Mazouk plot. Silva was seen dancing and showing off his moves in the ring like it was some party going on. But the party didn't last long. The Slovakian sensation Mazouk knocked the dance out of Silva with his moves. But this next fight had more showboating than a talent show. Lima ended the grand finale with an uppercut, sending Page to a different dimension, hopefully where karma doesn't exist. Now for some Joe Harding versus John Segas. Joe Harding was having a good time in the first few rounds. He had landed some good kicks and punches on his opponent, but then he decided to get cocky. And what happened next was perhaps the most satisfying end to a fight. A beautiful head kick executed to perfection was the end of Harding's idiotic behavior. And here's what you shouldn't do at the start of a fight. Watch Hiromoto get schooled by Hagawara for his arrogant behavior. It's not about your flashy signs when you're on the ground. That's a different game, bro. Well, there's his reality check. And now for Joe Calzaghe going off against Jeff Lacey. Jeff's pre-fight talks show how overconfident he was before this fight. He even labeled Joe Slapper because his punches merely felt like slaps. But the truth is, Joe rocked Jeff numerous times, and finally, in the 12th round, Jeff got knocked out for the first time in his career. Maybe not all slaps are equal. Now moving on to Murad being a bit of an ass. His arrogance overflowed as he fully embraced theatrics and hit his opponent, acting like a true drama queen. But after the bell, it was a total role swap. Attilic transformed into the master of destruction and threw punches like bullets. He turned Murad's face into all shades of red and taught him some humility. Yikes. Now here's Yi Long, a self-appointed kung fu master who likes to engage in a bold game of putting his guard down and relying on his inner strengths to shield him. However, it looks like this time his inner strength had gone on vacation, or maybe it got shut down by those heavy blows. No one knows whether the inner strength has come back yet or not. These kung fu guys do seem like a scam. What do you think? Let me give you some Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis now. Their fight for the heavyweight championship was filled with drama. The lead up to the fight had a tussle in which Lewis claimed that Mike bit his leg. Jeez. However, it was Lewis who got to rip Mike's eyebrow off in the second round and continued to dominate the fight. In the end, he clinched the deal with a right hand and a big bite of cash. Here's another guy who made the mistake of underestimating his opponent. Should have kept the tongue inside, man. The Jamaican fighter got instant karma treatment. Now, another quick serving of karma was in the Salka versus Garcia match. After getting hit by a stunning left on the face, Salka reacted to it by pumping his chest like King Kong. But Garcia's second combo was even faster than Salka's pounding. It immediately sent Salka to the ground. Now for one of the most entertaining fights of the last century, Hembrick versus Word. Hembrick performed a sequence of moves before the fight, showboating his flexibility and dance moves. But I guess Word didn't like the performance and decided to finish Hembrick with a left hook. This guy Hembrick should have reserved some of that energy for the actual match. This next guy is an example of what happens when you don't understand nature's way of talking to you. Big Shot Camp made one of the most embarrassing entries in the boxing arena. However, that didn't stop him from swaggering. While Camp did most of the entertaining, Ahmed took over the beating part. And round 2, he finally got his wish granted. A devastating knockout that sent him to the canvas face first. Humiliation. But wait, there's some showboating still left in Camp's tank. Yeah, some push-ups out of shame. What an idiot. Take a look at some similar silly crap pulled by Mayorga now. He was flexing his bicep in the pre-fight conference and telling everybody that he will knock Felix out in the 9th round. Guess what happened next? Yep, Mayorga got the beating of his life. He was finished by Felix in the 8th round. Irony at its finest. Now for Thomas Tate versus Roy Jones Jr. Tate appeared to approach the fight with a lack of seriousness. He was dancing in his corner and showboating. Well, just one good punch and Tate's trainer knew he couldn't take any more. Now let's go to Tokyo, where the Japanese have their own style of showboating. This is Inoue versus Perennas. In case you're wondering when they're going to showboat, well, they are. A very cultured showboat, I must say. Both fighters deserve to be shown respect, as they have shown respect to each other. But it was Perennas who karma hunted. Up next, I've got 2 big guys for you. Bo versus Tillery. There's one thing Bo doesn't like. It's a flying kiss. Seriously, if you're Bo's opponent, you better not try to be romantic with him because he responds to flying kisses with flying punches. Yep, Tillery got the beating of a lifetime. He'll probably think twice before kissing anybody now. Really, that beating was devastating. Not as much as the next one, though. Char wanted to infuriate the champ by being disrespectful and rude, but it had no effect on Klitschko. During the fight, Klitschko landed a left hand which opened a cut above Char's right eye, and the ref had to stop the fight because the blood wasn't going to. But guess what? Char was still being disrespectful. What a braggart this guy is. Kinda like Paez here. In those shorts, it looked like Paez was headed for a circus performance. However, he decided to turn the ring into a circus. The guy did show some amazing moves in the beginning, but he kept doing this trick during the fight where he used to become invincible only till Sanchez connects. And finally, a sensational finish to Paez's performance came in the final minute of round 7 when Sanchez connected a brutal combo who put the clown to sleep. And now, for the moment between Brown versus Long. The undefeated Australian fighter, Lucas Brown, was being constantly taunted by Long. He was sticking his tongue out, disgusting, and putting his guard down just to provoke Brown. But karma was served to Long in the form of a vicious combo by Brown. He landed a devastating left hand from which Long was not going to come back. And that, gentlemen, is how you tell someone to keep their tongue inside their mouth. And that's all for this video full of instant karma being served to cocky fighters. Which beatdown did you enjoy the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and I'll catch you in the next one.